The ground shook before he even heard the sound. A deep rumble rolled under his boots and the air turned sharp, filled with heat and dust. Then came the light, blinding, white, and violent. The explosion tore through the valley like a beast set free. He threw himself forward without thinking. He was human, a soldier from Earth, trapped in a war he did not fully understand. But in that instant, there was no war, no mission, no orders. There was only the alien girl standing frozen in the middle of the chaos. Her eyes were wide and strange, glowing like silver under the firestorm. She did not move. Maybe she was too shocked, maybe too young, or maybe she had never seen war like this before. Shards of metal screamed through the air, pieces of machines and walls turned into deadly knives. He could have saved himself. He could have dropped to the ground and let the storm pass over him. But his body moved faster than his mind. He leapt at her, pushed her down, and wrapped his arms around her small frame. Then pain. It tore into his side, his back, his shoulder. Hot metal cut into flesh, deep and sharp. He felt the fire of shrapnel sink into him, burning hotter than anything he had known. His breath left him in a single broken gasp. The alien girl screamed, a sound not fully human but close enough to pierce his chest. He wanted to tell her it was okay, that she would live, but his throat was full of smoke and blood. Darkness came like a tide, but before he slipped under, he saw something. Shadows moving through the fire. Tall shapes glowing faintly, their eyes bright as stars. They stepped through the flames without fear, without sound. And then, nothing. When he woke again, the world was wrong. At first he thought he was dead. The air was cold, too clean, too sharp. He lay on something smooth, not earth, not stone, not metal he knew. Above him was no sky, no ceiling, but a soft dome of light that seemed alive. His chest hurt. His arms trembled, but he was breathing, though he remembered dying. He remembered the shrapnel cutting him apart. He remembered the blood. So why was he alive? He turned his head, slowly, carefully. The alien girl was there, sitting not far away. Her silver eyes were on him, wide with fear but also relief. She said something in her language, soft and musical, but he could not understand the words. Then he saw them. Figures moved around the room. Tall, taller than any human, their skin glowing faintly in shades of blue and white. Their faces were calm but unreadable, their long hands moving with strange tools that hummed with light. He realized with a shock he was surrounded. Not soldiers, not doctors. Aliens. One of them looked down at him. The being's eyes glowed brighter, scanning him, judging him. He could not move. His body was heavy, tied down by invisible bonds, or maybe his own weakness. They spoke in low tones, voices echoing, layered like music but carrying a weight that felt dangerous. He could not understand the words, but he understood the tension. Some of them wanted him here. Some did not. The alien girl reached for him, placing her small hand on his arm. Her touch was light, trembling. She said something again, louder this time, her voice shaking as if she was begging them. The tall being stopped speaking. Silence filled the chamber. Then one stepped forward. In its hand was a thin needle glowing with silver light. The soldier's heart raced. His mind screamed to fight, to run, but his body did not move. The alien raised the needle high, and for a moment he thought this was the end. That saving her meant nothing. That this would be his last breath. But the needle pressed into his chest and fire exploded inside him. He gasped, arching against the table. His blood boiled, his veins lit like burning wires. His vision cracked into shards of light and sound. He felt his heart stop, then start again, harder, stronger, stranger. The alien girl cried out his name, though he never told her. Or maybe she was calling him something else. A word from her people. The last thing he saw before the world went dark again was her face, full of tears and fear, and behind her the tall beings watching with cold, unreadable eyes. He had saved her life, but what had they done to his? He woke to silence, not the silence of peace, but the silence that comes after storms, heavy and waiting, filled with hidden voices. His eyes opened slowly, and he realized he was not on Earth, not even in the battlefield where the explosion had taken him down. The ceiling above him glowed faint blue, moving like water. Strange shadows crossed it, tall figures gliding across the room. His body lay on a smooth table, cold as ice, and when he tried to lift his hand, it did not move. His arms were pinned, not by metal cuffs, but by invisible force, like air turned to stone. He turned his head. The alien girl sat near him, her silver eyes glowing under the light. Her face carried both fear and hope. She leaned closer, whispering soft words in her language. He could not understand, but her voice was like a thread holding him to life. Then he noticed the others. They stood in a half circle around him, tall beings, their skin shimmering like moonlight, their limbs long and elegant. Their faces were calm, almost too calm, no emotion, only watchful silence. Their eyes glowed brighter than stars, fixed on him as if he were a puzzle or a threat. He swallowed hard. His chest ached where the shrapnel had torn him. But the pain was different now. His veins burned faintly, like a strange fire flowing under his skin. One of the aliens stepped forward, carrying a tool that hummed with silver light. Its voice rang out, layered, echoing, both deep and sharp. The words meant nothing to him, but the tone was clear. Judgment. The girl rose to her feet. She faced the tall figures, her small voice trembling but strong. She argued, pointing to him, again and again. Her hands shook as she spoke, and her silver eyes filled with tears. The tall beings answered in sharp tones. Their voices were music twisted into commands. Some turned away, not willing to look at him. Others leaned closer, watching him with interest. Then suddenly, pain. A thin beam of light scanned over his body. His skin prickled, his muscles twitched. He gasped, but no sound came out. They were studying him, peeling away his secrets, looking deep inside. He wanted to shout, to fight, but he was helpless, pinned like an insect under glass. His breath quickened, his heart thundered. Then, without warning, one of the aliens moved closer with another device. It was a needle, long and glowing silver. The soldier's eyes widened. His chest burned with fear. He struggled against the invisible. Wait, but it was useless. The needle hovered above him, aimed at his heart. The alien girl screamed something, loud, desperate. She ran forward, trying to stop them. But two tall figures caught her gently, holding her back. The needle struck. White fire roared through his veins. His body arched, his vision split apart. It felt like lightning had entered his chest, tearing him apart from the inside. He gasped for air, but no air came. His heart stopped. Darkness. Then, light. He jolted as his chest pounded again. His heart restarted harder, stronger. His blood glowed faintly under his skin, veins shining like burning wires. His body was alive, but different. Too different. He collapsed back onto the table, gasping. His lungs dragged in sharp air. His eyes flicked around wildly. The tall aliens were no longer calm. They spoke fast, voices overlapping, echoing like storms colliding. Some looked afraid, others looked excited. The girl broke free from their grip and rushed to his side. She held his arm tight, whispering again and again. Her tears fell warm on his skin. He turned his head slowly, staring at her. His throat burned, but he forced out a whisper. Why? Me? She looked at him with wide silver eyes. Her lips trembled as she spoke a single word in broken human tongue. Chosen. The chamber shook. A deep alarm blared, low and heavy, shaking the walls. The tall figures froze, their glowing eyes snapping to the sealed doors. Something outside was moving. Something big. The soldier tried to rise, but his body was weak. The alien girl pulled at his arm, urging him, whispering faster now. Her fear was clear. Whatever was coming was worse than the explosion, worse than the fire. The doors trembled. Shadows flickered across the glowing walls. The voices of the tall beings grew sharper, urgent. He realized the truth then. He was not saved. He was changed. And whatever had been done to him was not finished. The chamber doors shook again, bending under some terrible force. And he lay there, half human, half something else, surrounded by beings he could not trust. With danger closing in, the soldier opened his eyes to fire, not fire in the air, but fire in his blood. His veins glowed faint blue, pulsing like tiny rivers of light beneath his skin. Each heartbeat shook his chest. Each breath came like a storm. He felt alive. Too alive. He sat up slowly, his body heavy but filled with strange strength. His wounds were gone. The shrapnel that had torn him apart had vanished, replaced by thin lines of light tracing across his flesh. He touched his arm. His skin was warm, almost burning, but there was no pain. The alien girl stood close, her silver eyes wide with awe. She whispered something soft, the same word again and again. Chosen. Chosen. Around them, the tall, glowing beings watched, in silence. Some leaned closer, their eyes bright with interest. Others stepped back, their calm faces twisted with fear. The soldier's breath quickened. He did not understand what had been done to him, but he knew one thing. He was no longer the same. The chamber shook again. The alarms had not stopped. Beyond the sealed doors came the sound of pounding metal, heavy and steady. Something outside wanted in. The soldier swung his legs off the table. His body trembled, but when his feet touched the floor, the weakness melted away. Power surged through him. He clenched his fists, and a faint glow spread across his knuckles. The alien girl reached for his hand. "Stay," she whispered in broken words. Not ready. But it was too late. The chamber doors bent under another strike, glowing cracks spreading through the metal. The tall beings raised their hands, light forming at their fingertips like weapons. Their voices echoed, commanding, each other preparing. The soldier felt his blood rush faster. His vision sharpened. He could see the dust in the air, the cracks in the floor, the fear on the aliens' faces. His hearing stretched further. He could hear footsteps beyond the doors, dozens of them, maybe more. Then the doors exploded inward. A storm of armored figures poured into the chamber. They were not like the glowing beings. They were dark, tall, wrapped in jagged steel. Their helmets glowed red, their weapons crackling with energy. The tall, glowing aliens opened fire. Beams of light cut across the chamber. The armored invaders answered with blasts of red fire. The room became a storm of sound and light. The soldier froze for only a moment. Then instinct took over. He grabbed the alien girl and pulled her behind him. A blast struck near his feet, shaking the ground. But his body moved before thought. He leapt forward faster than he had ever moved, closing the distance between him and the nearest invader. His fist struck like thunder. The armored figure flew backward, its chest plate cracked, sparks bursting from the suit. The soldier stared at his own hand in shock. His skin glowed faint blue and faint trails of light faded into the air. He had not only hit the invader, he had broken it with power he did not understand. Another enemy rushed him. He dodged easily, faster than his mind could follow, and slammed his elbow into the invader's helmet. The metal crumpled, sparks shooting out. The invader fell. Behind him, the alien girl shouted something. He turned and saw a blast of red fire streaking toward her. Without thinking, he threw himself between her and the attack. The fire struck his chest. He staggered but did not fall. His skin glowed brighter, the energy sinking into him, absorbed like rain into dry ground. His chest burned, but the pain melted into raw strength. He roared, a sound that shook even him, and charged into the storm. The glowing aliens stared, some in shock, some in fear, but none stopped him. He was a weapon now, forged in their chamber, fueled by something far beyond human strength. The invaders fell one by one under his strikes, their red lights fading into darkness, but for every one he dropped, two more entered. The battle raged, the chamber shaking under the storm. The alien girl clung to his arm when he pulled back to her side. Her silver eyes searched his face. "You, not human," she whispered, her voice trembling. He looked down at his glowing hands, his burning veins, his chest alive with strange fire. She was right. He was not the same man who had taken the explosion's shrapnel. He was something else, and deep inside he feared what that meant. The tall, glowing beings shouted to each other, pointing at him, arguing even in the middle of the fight. Some wanted him to keep fighting. Others wanted to stop him. The soldier clenched his fists, looking at the girl he had saved. He did not know what he was now, but one truth was clear. If he was a weapon, he would choose where to strike. The chamber shook once more as the enemy broke through the far wall, flooding in. With even greater force, the glowing aliens prepared themselves, their light growing brighter, and the soldier, burning with power he could not control, stood at the center, caught between two worlds, unsure which one feared him more. The alarms did not stop. They howled through the alien base like dying animals. Red lights flashing against glowing walls, smoke curled from the shattered doors, and the floor shook with heavy steps. The invaders were not retreating. They were hunting. The soldier stood in the center, his chest still glowing faintly from the power that pulsed through his veins. His fists were stained with sparks and dust from broken armor. Around him, the tall, glowing aliens shouted orders, their voices layered and sharp. Some stared at him with awe, others with anger, but he saw only one face. The alien girl. She clung to his arm, her silver eyes wide, her lips trembling with words he could not understand. But her fear was clear. They were not safe. Not here. The wall trembled again. A blast struck, leaving a smoking hole. Through it, more armored invaders poured in, their red lights burning in the haze. The tall, glowing beings moved to meet them, beams of light firing from their hands. The chamber turned into a storm of fire once more. The soldier grabbed the girl's hand. "Run," he said, his voice hoarse but firm. She did not know his words, but she understood. They ran. Through narrow halls that curved like rivers of stone, past glowing chambers filled with strange machines, past more tall beings shouting and fighting. The alarms screamed above them. Behind them, the invaders gave chase, their steps heavy, their weapons cracking with red fire. The soldier's new senses burned inside him. His hearing stretched far. He could hear the hunters closing in, their armor scraping, their breath hissing through metal masks. His vision sharpened, letting him see every shadow, every corner. He pulled the girl forward, faster, faster. His legs felt stronger than steel, his lungs endless. But no matter how fast they ran, the enemy followed. They turned a corner. Ahead, the hall split into two paths. To the left, faint light flickered. To the right, darkness stretched. The girl tugged his arm, pointing left. But his new senses whispered danger. Too easy. Too bright. He pulled her toward the darkness. The hall grew colder, the walls damp, the light fading until only their breath filled the air. He slowed, pressing her against the wall, listening. Steps, heavy, slow, echoing. Not one hunter, many. They were close. The girl gripped his hand tight. Her small frame shook, but her eyes stayed locked on him, waiting for his choice. He clenched his fists. The glow returned, faint blue lines across his skin. He could fight. He could stand here and tear them apart. But he remembered the girl's scream when he had taken the shrapnel. He remembered her tears when the needle pierced him. No, not here. Not now. He moved again, pulling her deeper into the shadows. The hall opened into a wide chamber. Strange towers of crystal rose from the floor, glowing faintly with blue fire. The girl gasped, whispering a word, something sacred in her language. He did not ask what it was. He only knew it gave them cover. They hid among the crystals, crouched, low. The soldier's breath slowed, his glowing veins dimming as he forced his body to stillness. The girl pressed against him, trembling, her hand clutching his shirt. The hunters entered. Red lights glowed as their helmets scanned the chamber. Their heavy steps echoed, weapons humming. They moved in groups, sweeping the room. The soldier's body tensed. Every nerve screamed to fight. But he stayed still, waiting. One hunter drew closer, its red eyes passing over their crystal. The soldier's fists clenched, ready. But the alien girl pressed her hand against his chest, shaking her head. Her silver eyes begged him to wait. The hunter moved on. Minutes passed like hours. One by one, the hunters left, their heavy steps fading down another hall. The soldier exhaled slowly. His body ached with held energy, but they were safe. For now. The girl leaned against him, whispering a soft word. He did not know it, but her tone was clear. "Thank you." He nodded once, but deep inside, he knew this was not over. They were not running from shadows. They were being hunted, and worse, the way the hunters had moved, the way they had ignored the glowing beings to focus on him and the girl. It was clear. The explosion had never been an accident. It had been a trap. The invaders wanted her. But now they wanted him too. The soldier's jaw tightened. He looked at his glowing hands, then at the trembling girl. He had chosen once already, when he threw himself into the fire to save her. He would choose again. The hunt was not finished. It had only begun. The base was burning. The soldier and the alien girl stumbled through broken halls, smoke curling around them. Every wall shook with distant blasts. The alarms screamed without end. But it wasn't only the invaders he feared now. It was the silence in the eyes of the glowing beings as they watched him pass. Their gazes followed him like knives. Some bowed their heads, whispering among themselves. Others looked at him with open hatred. He could feel it, their fear of him. When they reached the central chamber, the walls glowed brighter than ever. At its heart stood a circle of tall figures, their bodies glowing with power. The girl gasped when she saw them, then bowed low, pulling at his arm to do the same. But he stayed standing. Their voices rose together, layered and cold. He did not understand the words, but the meaning pressed into his chest like a weight. They were deciding his fate. The girl turned, her silver eyes wide. She whispered in broken human tongue, voice shaking. "Counsel. They judge you." He frowned. "Judge me for what?" "I saved her. I fought for them." Her lips trembled. "Too strong, not human, not us, dangerous." The circle of beings turned their glowing eyes toward him. One raised a hand, and an image filled the air. Holograms of the explosion, the battle, and finally, him. His glowing fists breaking armored enemies, his chest absorbing red fire, his veins lit like blue lightning. The voices grew sharper, faster. The girl grabbed his hand. "Some want kill, some want use." He clenched his jaw. "I'm not a weapon," but the truth was burning in his blood. He felt it with every heartbeat. He was different now, and they knew it. Then the chamber doors opened. A new figure entered. The soldier froze. His heart thundered in his chest. It was a human, not a prisoner, not lost, but dressed in black armor, carrying the insignia of Earth. The man's face was hard, his eyes cold. "So it's true," he said. "You're alive." The soldier stepped forward. "Who are you?" "Commander Rourke," the man said flatly. "Your superior officer, and your executioner if you don't come quietly." The girl gasped. She pulled the soldier back, shaking her head. Her voice rose in protest, sharp and desperate. The glowing council joined in, their layered tones filling the chamber. The air shook with argument. The soldier's throat burned. "You sent the bomb." Rourke's eyes narrowed. "Not a bomb. A test. We needed to know if their precious blood could merge with ours. And you volunteered whether you knew it or not." Rage struck him like fire. His fists glowed faint blue. "You tried to kill her. You tried to kill me." Rourke smirked. "No. We tried to make you useful. And it worked. The girl screamed something in her language, stepping between them. Her silver eyes shone with fury. She pointed at Rourke, her small frame trembling with hate. The council fell silent. All eyes turned to the soldier. Rourke's voice cut the air like a knife. Listen to me, soldier. You belong to Earth, not to them, not to her. Come back, and maybe you'll live. Stay here, and you're a traitor. The word slammed into him. Traitor. He remembered Earth, the commanders, the missions, the flag he once carried, the orders he followed without question. But now, all he saw was the girl's terrified face. All he felt was the burning power, inside him, born not from Earth but from her people. His voice was steady. I won't go with you. Rourke's smirk faded. His hand went to his weapon. Then you die here. The girl cried out, clinging to the soldier's arm. The council erupted, their glowing voices colliding in a storm of anger and fear. The soldier's blood roared. His fists burned. But before he could strike, the decision was made. The council leader raised both hands, and silence crushed the room. Then came one word, clear and final. The girl translated, her voice breaking. Exile, you leave or they kill. The soldier stood frozen, his heart hammering. The beings he had saved now turned against him. His own people had betrayed him, and the only one still by his side was the girl. Rourke stepped closer, weapon raised. Exile, death, it makes no difference. Either way, you're finished. The soldier met his eyes. Then he grabbed the girl's hand and ran. The chamber exploded, with shouts and light as the council rose. Rourke cursed and opened fire. The soldier's glowing fists shattered the wall, and together they escaped into the burning halls once more. Now they were hunted not just by the invaders, not just by the glowing beings, but by his own people too. The forest was alive with strange light. Tall trees glowed faintly in the dark, their leaves shining silver under 3 pale moons. The soldier pushed forward, his breath heavy, his body burning with the strange power in his blood. The alien girl stayed close, her small hand gripping his tightly as they stumbled through roots and shadows. Behind them, the base was a distant ruin, fire climbing into the sky. He could still hear faint echoes of alarms, shouts, weapons. They had escaped, but not for long. The hunt was still on. They moved until their legs trembled. At last, they found a hollow beneath the roots of a massive tree, its trunk wider than a house. The soldier pulled the girl inside, shielding the entrance with fallen branches. For the first time since the explosion, there was quiet. The soldier leaned back against the wood, his chest rising and falling. The girl sat beside him, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the dark. For a while, neither spoke. The silence was heavy but not empty. Finally, she touched his arm and whispered, "Why save me?" Her words were broken, rough but clear enough. He looked at her, surprised. She was learning his tongue. Slowly, carefully, he thought of the battlefield, of the firestorm, of his body moving without thought. "Because you were there," he said, softly. "Because no one else would." She tilted her head, confusion crossing her face. Then her eyes softened. Her voice was small. "Human, strange." He gave a tired laugh. "You're not wrong." For a while, they simply listened to the forest. Strange insects hummed, their wings glowing. A low call echoed far away, something large moving in the dark. But the tree's roots held strong, and they were safe for now. The girl pulled something from her cloak, a shard of crystal, glowing faint blue. She held it close, her hands shaking. She whispered words in her language, soft and sad. The soldier frowned. "What is that?" She looked at him, then pointed to the shard. "Weapon." His breath caught. "Weapon?" She nodded. Her silver eyes shone with sorrow. "Old, strong. My people hide it. Your people want it." The soldier's stomach twisted. He remembered Rourke's words, not a bomb, a test. He remembered the explosion, the trap. All of it made sense now. "They don't want to win the war," he muttered. "They want this." The girl lowered her head. Her voice shook. "Only you can wake it." He stared at her. "Me?" She touched his chest where his veins glowed faintly. "Blood. Changed. You are key." Silence filled the hollow. The soldier's hands trembled. He had wanted answers, but not this. Not to be the lock and key to a weapon that could end worlds. He looked at the girl. She was young, fragile, yet fierce in her way. She trusted him too much. And now, because of what had been forced into his veins, the fate of both their people sat on his shoulders. He shook his head. "I'm no savior," but she leaned closer, her voice steady. "Not savior. Choice." Her words struck deep. For a long time they sat close, the glow of the shard lighting their faces. He could see the pain in her eyes, the fear of losing her world, the burden she carried. And she could see his, the weight of betrayal, the terror of what he was becoming. Something unspoken passed between them. Not romance, not yet, but a bond. Two lives tied by fire and blood, standing alone against forces too big to fight. Thras. Night deepened. The soldier tried to rest, but his blood burned. Strange visions filled his mind. Flashes of light, broken worlds, his fists shattering armies, the girl's voice crying out his name. He woke in sweat, his chest glowing bright, the crystal shard pulsing in answer. The girl sat awake beside him, watching. She whispered one word. "Soon." He swallowed hard. From the distance came the sound of machines, deep, steady, growing closer. The hunters had found their trail again. The girl clutched the shard to her chest, her eyes locked on his. "We go. To chamber. To end." The soldier stood, his fists trembling with fire he could not control. He looked at the forest stretching into shadows, the glow of strange moons, the girl who would not leave his side. For the first time, he understood. This was no longer just survival, no longer just escape. This was the path to the final choice between human order's alien trust and the weapon that could destroy them all, and there was no turning back. The ground trembled as they reached the chamber. It was buried deep beneath the alien forest, hidden under stone and roots. The door was massive, carved with symbols that glowed faint silver. The alien girl pressed her hand against the crystal shard, and the door shuddered, opening, with a sound like thunder. Inside, the chamber stretched wide, filled with pillars of crystal that pulsed with light. At the center stood a great core, a sphere of pure energy, floating and alive. The soldier felt it the moment he stepped inside. The power reached for him, pulling at the fire in his veins. The girl whispered, her silver eyes shining. "This is the weapon." He stared at the sphere. It pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. It knew him. Before he could answer, the chamber shook. The hunters had arrived. Red light poured through the broken forest as armored figures stormed the entrance. Behind them came more glowing beings, her people. And at the front, armored in black steel, was Commander Rourke. His voice echoed in the chamber. "Step aside, soldier. You don't belong here." The girl gripped the soldier's hand. "Don't. Trust." Rourke's eyes burned cold. "You think they care for you? You're a tool to them. Just like you're a tool to us. But with that weapon, Earth will never bow again. Come with me, and we'll control it together." The soldier's chest glowed, brighter than ever. His heart raced, torn between fury and fear. The glowing council shouted from behind the hunters, their layered voices sharp. They didn't want Rourke to have the weapon. But they didn't want him either. The girl stepped closer, holding the shard out to him. "Only you," she whispered. "Choice is yours." The chamber filled with tension, every eye on him. His blood roared, his veins burning like rivers of fire. He looked at Rourke, at the glowing beings, at the girl. Then the hunters charged. The chamber erupted into chaos. Red blasts cut through the air. Blue beams from the glowing beings struck back. Crystals shattered, sparks raining down. The soldier pulled the girl behind him as the battle crashed around them. Rourke fired his weapon, the blast striking the soldier's chest. The energy sank into his veins, feeding the fire inside him. He staggered, then roared, his fists blazing bright. He fought. Every strike shook the chamber. His fists cracked armor, shattered helmets. Red lights died under his blows. The girl stayed. Close. Clutching the shard, her silver eyes never leaving him. But Rourke was different. He moved fast, his black armor stronger than the rest. Each strike he threw was sharp, trained, merciless. He was no ordinary man. He had enhancements of his own. They clashed in the center of the chamber, fist against fist, fire against steel. The ground shook beneath their fight. Rourke sneered. "You're nothing without me, without Earth. You'll die here with these aliens who'll never accept you." The soldier's voice thundered. "Maybe, but I'll never be your weapon." With a final strike, he drove his glowing fist into Rourke's chest. The black armor cracked, shattered, and the commander fell, sparks bursting from his body. But victory came at a cost. The sphere at the chamber's heart pulsed violently, reacting to the fight. The crystals shook, cracks spreading. The weapon was waking, alive and hungry. The girl rushed to him, pressing the shard into his hand. Her voice broke. "It listens to you. Only you. Stop it. Or unleash it." The soldier stared at the shard, his glowing veins burning brighter. The sphere called to him, its power flooding his mind, visions of worlds destroyed, armies broken, silence across the stars. His hands trembled. He could end the war. He could save them all. Or he could destroy everything. The girl's silver eyes met his. Choice. The hunters pressed closer. The glowing beings shouted. The chamber shook, ready to collapse. He took a breath. His voice was low, steady. "I choose." He raised the shard. His veins exploded with light. The sphere answered, flooding the chamber with blinding fire. The hunters screamed. The glowing beings shielded their eyes. The girl clung to him, her tears burning against his chest. And then, silence. When the light faded, the chamber was empty. The hunters were gone. The glowing beings were gone. Only the shattered crystals remained, their glow fading. The girl lifted her head. He was still there, standing, his chest dimming, his veins cooling. But his eyes were different. He looked at her, a faint smile on his lips. Humans protect those who stand with them. Then his body collapsed, the shard falling from his hand. The girl caught him, crying out his name, her silver eyes full of sorrow. She pressed her head to his chest and felt a faint heartbeat. Alive. Changed, but alive. The moons rose above the broken chamber, casting silver light across them, both. The war was not over. The weapon's choice was not final, but their bond was. And together, they would face what came next.